What is going on, everybody? Tyler Brand back here with another video, and this video will hopefully have nothing to do at any point with New England. Hopefully these practices in this video will never mirror anything that New England does, and it'll never have anything to do with the team that we all love, the New England Patriots. But today I wanted to take a break from all that kind of content, and I just really wanted to talk about the Washington Post article that came out, that was rumored to come out over the last week or so, about the conduct and just disgusting allegations made about the Washington Redskins. And I just feel like this is a conversation that everybody needs to have across sports, and it's just something that can't go swept under the rug, and it's a blemish for football, a sport that we all love, and it's something that just can't go silently into the night and not talked about, because there needs to be change, and everybody that was involved in this, from the bottom to the executive team to Daniel Snyder himself, need to be penalized, and it needs to change, and it's just not right. Before we kind of get into a little bit of the meat of this article, as someone who is a communications major, who studied a lot of journalism and has a concentration in broadcast journalism, I want to say great job by Hobson and Liz Clarke, both of the journalists on this story. They did a very good job of telling a story that's necessary to tell. And it's basically a bunch of women, I think it was 15 women, who reported anonymously sexual misconduct, abuse, personal abuse, sexual harassment at their workplace, and just a whole bunch of really inappropriate, dark stuff. And everybody except for one of the women were anonymous, and the one person who kind of put her name out there and is in the limelight of this video is Emily Applegate. She was also an employee of the Washington Redskins. Now, this story primarily revolves around 5 or 6 guys. Daniel Snyder was not directly involved in the sexual mistreatment or misconduct. He was not directly involved with any of that. However, the fact that he let this all go on for years, being that he's owned the Redskins for over 20 years, it makes him almost as accountable as the following men who I'm going to read off that were all involved and heavily named in this article. And that is Alex Santos, Larry Michael, who is the voice of the Washington Redskins and is a part of their media team, Richard Mann II, Dennis Green, and Mitch Gershman. Those are the 5 guys that were heavily mentioned in the article. It's tough stuff to read. On the screen, I'm going to just take a couple of excerpts from the article. Just for those of you who haven't really gotten the meat and potatoes of what happened, this is kind of some of the really darker stuff that happened. And then we'll kind of get into how the NFL should treat this and what happens now. This first excerpt is in a story of what some female employees would tell other female employees as they, were acquainted with the building. And this is a particular staircase near the entrance to the team headquarters. They say, lined at the top with transparent plexiglass, the stairs descend from the lobby to the locker room and training area. And someone standing at the bottom can look up the skirt of a woman standing at the top. One former female member of the executive staff learned this lesson in her early tenure. She said when she looked down to see a male trainer 2 floors down staring right back up, walking step for step with her. He even leaned to get a better angle, the woman said. He wasn't even trying to hide it. Some examples of the emotional abuse were routine outbursts of rage. This is what Emily Applegate said, such as when Gershman got lost on the way to Joe Heisman's residence in Alexandria. He asked her to print out the directions for him. All he had to do was type it in a GPS, and he spent 20 minutes screaming about how incompetent I was for not giving him proper directions. She said I would leave work crying probably 4 days out of the week. And then here's something involving Daniel Snyder himself, the owner of the Redskins. He would humiliate Dennis Green in front of other executives because he was a cheerleader in college, and Dennis took everything. He did everything and anything he had to make sure that those suites, the suites in Washington, were sold out year after year, one former saleswoman said. Now, that specific little excerpt about Green, although it does paint him as someone that would do anything for Snyder and the company. He was also reported for making inappropriate comments to women and just out of line things to women around the organization. And you hear about all this stuff, and you would wonder if there was an outlet for these women, or a chain of command, or anywhere for these women who have gone through this to tell someone or let someone know, to try and change the culture or change the work environment or the terrible environment that they were in Washington. However, in the article, it says the team's human resources staff consists of one full-time staffer who also performs administrative duties at team headquarters. Responsible for more than 220 full-time employees, according to several former employees, there is no HR, as one former veteran female employee who left in 2019, and there was never a reporting process, nor was one explained to new employees about how you should report something. So let's transition from this awful work environment that, anyone in the Washington organization, including and especially the women, had to work in, to where the NFL steps in and where this has to be stopped tomorrow. There's absolutely no room for this in this sport. I mean, there are wonderful women and men who do an excellent job reporting, people that I personally look up to, and there's no place in the sport to harbor this sort of energy. And it's enough for the NFL to, have the commercials and all this kind of stuff, but the commissioner in the past has dropped the ball on this, and it's time to make an example. Daniel Snyder, I've seen on Twitter people say that because he's not directly involved with the misconduct, he just let it happen, and he didn't physically do anything himself, that he probably will keep the team, or he's going to keep the team, or he's going to continue to be the head of the Washington Redskins, or whatever their team name is going to be. But there's no room for that. I think he should be removed from any position of power. It's a blemish against the NFL. It's a blemish if you're an owner of the other 31 teams to even be sharing a room with someone like that. There's no room for it. And Goodell talks about protecting the shield, and I understand that there's processes that have to go out before you just lay down a judgment, but there's a very thin line for you in this case, and I think you need to treat it with the utmost, severity. I don't think Snyder should be in charge anymore. I think everybody in that executive office should be out of the NFL and out of sports, because there is no room for it in the NFL or in sports. And the new people that come in, I mean, Ron Rivera has an absolutely monumental task now, just coming in, not even having this job for a year yet. It's time for you to restart the culture and restart the environment of what Washington football is going to be. Be good to people. Be good to everybody. Provide a safe work environment. Provide outlets for people to report misconduct in every single way against any person in the building. It's not right, and it can't go on anymore. And this has to be dealt with justly and swiftly and to the fullest extent. If Roger Goodell's in the business of protecting the shield, this is protecting the shield, because this is a blemish that can hurt the NFL forever. I mean, it's embarrassing, it's disgusting, and it hurts all 32 teams, including Daniel Snyder and the Washington football team. Whatever their future is, it's a blemish on them. And every day that he's not removed from his position is a day that Washington misses an opportunity to make the world and the NFL a little bit of a better place. With all that being said, this was a difficult video to make, and at the time of recording this, I don't even know if I'm going to post it, only if it comes together nice and it does more good than it does harm. That's really what I want to do with this video. I know it's not Patriot related, but I just feel like it was something that had to be said. But that is going to do it for this video. Once again, I'm Tyler Brandt. Please, shameless plug, follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. Drop a subscribe, drop a like. All of that's appreciated. But that's it for this video. I promise the next time you see me, we'll be back to Patriot content, and we'll be back to having some good Patriot news, hopefully. But until then, I'm Tyler Brandt. Be good, and I'll catch you next time.